Hey there gamers, welcome back to the Board Game Co channel, and this is a preview of Sibille. Hey there gamers, it's Professor Meg here, and welcome back to the Board Game Co channel. Today we have a preview of Sibille. Thank you to GoToMath Games for sponsoring this video, and you can check out their Kickstarter link down below to see their campaign and everything that they have planned. It is now live, so you can go check that out. That being said, everything in front of me is a prototype copy, so please keep that in mind. But with that, we're going to look at how this game plays. One other thing I'd like to say before we start is there is also a playthrough on the channel. I believe it will probably be after, but it might be before. But there will also be a playthrough on the channel, so you can also check that out if you'd like to see how this game plays, because it is very unique, and it's a lot of trying to predict what other players are going to be doing, so that can be a bit tricky, but also very, very rewarding. In the game, players are going to be working towards specific goals, trying to accomplish 2 of the 4 goals to be able to trigger endgame, and when you're doing so, you have access to 22 cards. Of those 22 cards, you're going to be playing 3 as a typical turn, but you'll be able to add additional cards depending on certain things, but you'll play 3 cards a turn and also have 3 predictions of what other players may be playing. Now with those 22 cards, you're going to be taking a whole bunch of different actions moving around the game trying to hit those different goals. Now in front of you, you have set up the main game board that everyone is going to be playing with, and then I have 2 players set up here, but this hand actually belongs to this player here because we're going to be looking at basically how one player would be playing throughout the game, but to be able to see how that would happen, you need at least 2 different players' cards available. Now as I said, there is a playthrough, so I do highly suggest checking that out, but with that we are going to look at Sibille. In Sibille, you are trying to accomplish 2 of these 4 goals over here, and when you do so, you are going to take your player token and put it on that goal. As soon as you have 2, the end game will trigger and that player will win. Now taking a look at what some of these are, because it will kind of help you throughout the game. This one is to have both your fame and your power equal to 25. So the tracks can be different, but as long as they equal to at least 25, you are able to claim this goal. Your fame and your power is going to be this circular track here. Every player is going to have both a power and a fame represented on the track, and as you move along the track, you will also get these additional benefits of the dice that are depicted. We'll get into what all of those actions mean in a bit, but just know that you are trying to work your way around this circular track, and that is one way to get ahead in the game. These goals are interchangeable, so this isn't always a goal that will be in play, but moving up on this track will always be helpful because you are triggering these different benefits. Now, other examples of these are to spend 7 gears in 1 turn. Those are different currency that you're going to gain throughout the game, so obviously it's going to take you a very big turn to work up towards spending 7 of these in 1 turn. Another one over here is going to be play 9 cards in a turn. As I said, you typically play 3 cards, but there are ways to play additional cards. And since that is a goal to trigger endgame, as you can imagine, playing 9 cards in 1 turn is pretty difficult to do. Now those are the goals of the game, and now we'll talk about how you get there. So all players have access to their deck of cards, which is your hand. You're able to access any of your cards all at the same time, so you can see here I have all of these cards available, plus the 6 that I've chosen to put into play. Now of those 6, I have 3 that I am playing myself, and 3 that I am predicting that other players will play. When you predict what other players will play, it will allow you to gain a gem, but that also means that you are not able to play that card because obviously it's down here in your prediction area and not up in your play area or in your available cards, so it does kind of limit what you're able to do, but it is a way for you to gain currency. Now when all of these cards are chosen, this is known as the preparation phase, and players are going to do it together all at the same time. So you're going to wait until everyone is ready and they have all of their cards placed face down, and then in turn order you are going to go through the activation phase where players are going to reveal the cards that they are playing. So for example, taking a look at the cards that are played here, we have the Empress, the Pope, and the Emperor. This player was going for a lot of economy on this track, which I already explained this turn. But looking over here at what this player predicted, you can also see like a lot of how these cards are very foil and shiny. They do have like very clear art, but they are pretty shiny and foily underneath. So over here, this player did predict that the Empress would be played. They predicted that the Magician would be played and the Chariot. Now, for these 3 predictions, that player would keep them secret and only unveil this one Empress one to show that they predicted this player would play the Empress. On the other player's turns, if you're playing with more than 2 players, you are still able to trigger these cards here throughout the round, but you would keep these secret and face down until they are triggered. But since this did happen, this player would gain a gem to their supply area. Now, for this player to go through the different actions that they have available, these are very straightforward to show you a bit of the game before we go into the detail, but you are gaining power and fame along these different tracks. So for our Pope here, if we decide to activate him first, we can choose to do this ability to the left, which is gaining 2 power. So we are going to take our player marker here and gain 2 power, and since we crossed this threshold here, we are going to be able to activate the ability on this die. The ability that is on this die is a question mark symbol on a card and then a plus, which means that you are able to take a card at random from your hand. Different times you can have other players draw these for you if you want it to be really random, depending on what you're doing, but you would shuffle it up and have a random card drawn from your hand, and then that would be an additional card that you played. So where I said that you would play 9 cards in one turn to meet this goal up here, this is a way you would already have 4 cards put into play. And this one would be the Wheel, which honestly is one of my favorite cards, and I'm pretty happy that this one showed up. The Wheel is absolute chaos, and I think it's great to show you what that does, and we'll get into it because I'm not going to go over every single card, but the Wheel is definitely one that I would have shown you because it's definitely a Meg card. So looking at the other cards here, while we will resolve these before we look at the Wheel, I will have both of these trigger, and again here I'm going to do the first ability, which is going to gain 2 fame. So over here again we're going to go to our player marker and we are going to go 1, 2 and gain 2 fame, and since we crossed this threshold we will be able to gain a gear resource. Again, here now we will resolve our Emperor, and with him we're going to try to do something a little bit different. Over here is all of our resources that we have available. We have some money, but we also have some gems. And if you do pay a gem, you're able to do the ability that is on the right side of the card instead. So for our Emperor, where he only gains us 1 fame, we're going to pay a gem in for him and gain 2 fame instead. So here again, we'll go to our player marker and go 1, 2, and instead here we are going to gain a crystal ball resource, which I'll get into what that does in a little bit. But now let's move on to our Wheel. If we use the Wheel, we are able to roll 2 black dice, or I can spend a gem to roll 2 white dice. And I think right now I will spend that gem and roll 2 of the white dice to see what I would gain. And in rolling these, I would be able to gain a gem back, which is absolutely great and made the gamble worth it. And then this one is I am able to buy one of these different items at a -2 cost, which is a great time for us to talk about what the trinkets and artifacts are. So there are trinkets, which are one-time use abilities, where you're going to be able to purchase them and then use one of the abilities that are available to it. And your artifacts are going to be similar, except they're going to stay in play in your player area. So you can see that we already have 1 artifact here, but we also have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 money. So we could choose to purchase something here. Now, we might want to take a trinket just because that's what we want to do for the turn. So let's say, for example, we want to buy this trinket here. Because it's -2 from what we got on the die, it would only cost us 2 coins, so we would pay in 2 coins to the bank and take this card. Where it is an immediate ability, the 2 abilities that it gives us is gaining this token, or the thing that we've already seen, which is playing a random card and then playing a specific card. So in this example, you would play the random one, but then after that you would be able to look at your available cards and choose the second card that is played. Now the tokens that are gained for this top ability are going to be these, and they're really interesting because it is an additional card play, but not until your next turn. This is going to be when you are choosing the cards that you are playing, so there is definitely an advantage to stocking up a bunch of these to be able to play a ton of cards on a future turn. Now after that, this trinket would cycle, and put that upside down, but just to show you what an artifact would do, here we have an hourglass. So if we did have one of these gear tokens available, a lot of them say what the max is. For example, this is max 2 per turn. You are able to spend one of these to gain one of those card draw tokens. So that's a way that you would be able to draw even more of these, hopefully being able to work toward playing that 9 per turn. Additionally, the Hourglass provides another ability, which is if you play your 21 card and your 12 card, because all of these cards are numbered at the top, if you play the both of those together, then you're able to use this ability. Now this ability is that you're able to use any of these die abilities around the board and then flip that die if you choose to do so. Now we have gone over a lot of pieces of the game, but one of the major pieces that we have not gone over is these people here in the center known as the customers. So after the activation phase and players go through all of their cards that they have played through everybody's turns, you will then go to a simultaneous turn of the customer phase. At this point, players will attract customers, and based on their demand, they will take the rewards of the different customers that they are able to take. For example, looking at the top 2 customers up here, they are attracted by the player with the most fame. So currently both of these would go to the white player. Now this one here is attracted to the player with the most coins, so depending on who has the most coins in play, this one would go to them. And for any that have this purple border, they are attracted to the player with the most power, which again, they would go to the white player. However, after cards are played by this player, if they ended up somewhere up here, this would then go to visit them instead. When players gain them, they are then able to take the rewards that are shown. So for example, if all of these customers did spread out like so, you would take the different rewards where this player would gain a gear and this player would gain a power, a fame, and a crystal gem. After this is the cleanup phase, which again is simultaneous, and players are just going to return their cards to their hand, but this is when you would be able to play your different crystal ball tokens if you have any available. If you do have any of these tokens, you are able to return any of your prophecies to your hand, whether you want to return that card to your hand and it hasn't been unveiled, or if it has been unveiled, so therefore the information is known, and you want to return that card to your hand to even perhaps put that card back there or add it to your hand, but you could use this to make it hidden again, making other players unsure of what you may be prophesizing. Now that is the general pace of play. Players are going to prepare the cards that they want to play for the future round. That will be simultaneous, and then you'll go through turn order, activating all of your different cards, doing your abilities, reacting to different things, purchasing what you can, and then after that the customers will be attracted. You'll get the different things that are available for them. If the condition should change, for example, if they want to go to the player with the most coins, if that's changed from round to round, the customers will then go to other players, and then after that you'll go through the cleanup phase. But you'll be playing this over and over again until someone reaches 1 or 2 of these different goals of the 4 available. Now you'll be choosing from all of these cards, and it will be definitely a lot for you to think about between what you think other players might be doing and what you should be doing yourself. So I'm going to go over what a lot of these cards do. There are 22 available, so I'm not going to go through every single one. But again, as I said, there's a playthrough on the channel that you'll be able to see probably every single card in play. I'm not sure, but I would guess probably every single card is played at least once. Alright, so to look at the cards more in depth, we'll take a look at what this player chose to play over here, which is the Lovers, the Fool, and Strength. So, going through these cards, the Lovers card is going to allow you to attract a certain customer. So you'll be able to attract them to you, and if you pay a crystal, you'll be able to attract 2 instead. The Fool is a really interesting card where you always have to pay crystals for it, so it is expensive, but it's really, really interesting where for 1 crystal you can pay to copy the effect of another card that you have in play. And if you pay 2 crystals, you're able to copy the effect of 2 additional cards in play. This can be really, really strong, especially as you're playing more and more cards as you get more available. But it's a really interesting gamble to be able to play, especially if you think you are going to be able to gain crystals from your predictions. Now we also have Strength here, and Strength is going to allow players to lock cards. Locking cards is going to mean that they are not able to be played. So for example, if this player had not gone, then a card would be able to be locked to stop it from being able to be played. And now to take a look at a few more of the cards that you have available, because again, all players have all of these cards available at the same time. We have here Temperance, which is going to allow you to gain one of the tokens that lets you play an additional card the next round. Or if you play a gem, you are able to just play an additional card that you select from your hand. This is a specific one where you would be able to look through and choose the card, so that's a way to be able to play additional cards. Here we have the Chariot, which is where you are purchasing the different trinkets and artifacts. So you are able to either purchase one or for a crystal, purchase 2 of them. Here we have the Sun, which is a way that you're able to change the player order because that can really affect a lot of the different things that happen in the game. So you're able to use this to change the player order and gain a coin. Or for a gem, you're able to change it and lock it, as well as gaining a coin. There are also some really cutthroat cards in the game. For example, there's one here called Justice. And with Justice, you are able to affect different players throughout the different thresholds that they're at. So for example, the player with the most fame would lose a fame, the player with the most power would lose a power, and the player with the most coins would lose a coin. But if you pay a gem, they would all lose 2 instead. So if you are behind, this is definitely a strong catch-up mechanic, and even if you're ahead in one of those tracks, it could be a really smart idea to still do so. Now, a lot of these other cards gain a lot of the resources that you see throughout the game. For example, going through the power track, the fame track, gaining the gears and the crystal balls, and the one thing that is very difficult to get is gems. There is a card in here that you are able to spend a coin to gain a gem, but after that it can be pretty difficult to do so, where you may need to rely on some of these dice, whether you use the wheel to roll the dice or the Hanged Man to use a dice ability, but the best way to get gems is accurately prophesizing what you think other players are going to play. Throughout the game, there are going to be a lot of pieces that are in flux, but you are going to learn your opponents and what cards they tend to favor, and what you might be able to anticipate what they need to be able to have their game moving forward the way they want to. So prophesizing can be very strong, but as a reminder to go throughout the game, you are working toward 2 of these 4 goals while moving along the different fame and power tracks, while gaining in trinkets and artifacts, and making these correct prophecies on top of playing the different cards that you want to. I would say one of the trickiest decisions is playing the cards that you want to play and judging against what you think other players will play and deciding to put it in your prophecy row instead, because it will gain you gems, but it means that you are not able to play that card that round. Sibille is a game of perfect information. You know everything that other players have available to play, and there is some things that you may know, such as their face-up prophecy cards, and you know everything that other players have access to and exactly where their fame and power is on the track. So you know everything that your opponents have available to them and everything that you have available to yourself, and it's all about that different chain of reactions that you have and how you build up these different resources and manipulate the different cards in your hand to see how you are able to make this the most beneficial for you and be able to stop other players from doing what they want. There are cards that kill these different customers that you can take them away from them, and there are definitely different ways to stop your opponents, such as that Justice card that I mentioned. So it is definitely a game where you are constantly looking around the board, working with perfect information that you know exactly what may or may not be happening, but when it's a deck of 22 cards and so many different options available, you really have to get in the mind of your opponent to see what you think might be happening. As I said, there is a playthrough on the channel, be sure to check that out, but thank you to GoToMath Games for sponsoring this video, and their Kickstarter link is down below. I'm Professor Meg, and thank you all for watching. I will see you all next time. Bye!